IBEX is one of the sponsors as well. I have not seen them yet, but they always run a little behind. So also I want to thank the Fine for being able to use the space. Zach's been great about letting us use the space to do this. So it's very much appreciated. So I'm Jimmy.
James.
James, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, without them, obviously we wouldn't have the space to do it. I appreciate everybody coming out. The weather's a little crazy today. So let's talk about entitlement. Okay. All right. VA entitlement is always 25% of the max loan guarantee. Okay. So we already talked about basic entitlement, and we're going to talk about the other fun part of that. So that's up to the county limit, the conforming limit. So obviously, Weaver County, Davis County, Salt Lake County's more. Davis County's 484, 350 is the county limit right now. You can buy a house, 100% financing with the VA, if you qualify income-wise, for $484,350 without $0 out of pocket. Okay, it's pretty awesome, right? And the loan's going to perform better than any other loan in the market. So, might as well use it if you have it, right? 3 biggest myths surrounding entitlement calculation. And she's gone, but that was her question. You can only have one VA loan at a time. That is not true. We'll talk about that. Okay? If you foreclose on a VA loan, you can never have another one. Also not true. Pretty awesome. Okay? And the VA has a max loan amount. Nope, not true. So some VA lenders have a max loan amount. Do you guys have a max in your VA? So I can literally do a $5 million VA loan as long as I have the money down.
Just put the 25% down.
Over the county limits. Okay. So VA has no limit. So if someone's got a service-connected disability and a jumbo rate with the VA with the lender is 4.5%, they can buy a $5 million house at 4.5%. As long as they cover the difference of the VA's, the portion of the loan. We'll talk about that. So there is no max loan amount. Now, obviously, without down payment, there is a max loan amount. So 484, 350 in most of the major counties in Utah is the conforming limit. Salt Lake County 600, Summit's a little more. I don't do much in Summit, obviously. But some of the counties out, like, believe it or not, Tooele's 600. Explain that one to me. I have no idea. Washington County, which is growing faster than anything else in the state, is still 484. So, yeah, but there is no max.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there limits as far as acreage which goes with the house?
It's not really spelled out real well, but what they've got to be able to have comps.
They have what?
They'd be able to find comps. So a lot of times, even with any traditional financing as well, a lot of times they'll exclude some of the acreage and not count it in the comp. So if they're paying an extra bunch of money for land, it may or may not work. But yeah, there's people that live on 5, 10, 15, 20 acres of VA loans all day long.
Okay.
All over the country. It's just a
So
matter
20
of,
acres is no problem?
yeah. What do you guys say on
We're up to
acreage?
40.
Up to 40?
The other challenge you're gonna have is if the home is worth more than if the land
Land's
is
worth
worth
more than
more than the home,
Yeah.
then you can't lend on it. So the home has to be worth more than 50% of the total value of the property.
Okay.
See, that's why you have someone sponsored, but because every lender's different, but that's going to be a pretty common thing from the big wholesale lenders is they're going to be able to lend that way. If it makes sense, the VA is going to typically do it, but again, the house has got to be worth more than the land, or at least as much as the other accompanying land, which in Utah, in theory you could find. Now, if it's going to be used for like commercial farming and stuff, they're not going to do it, just like USDA is not going to do it. So, where do the VA myths come from? Okay. All right. You can only have one VA loan at a time. If you foreclose on a VA loan, you can never have another one. Every veteran has 2 sets of entitlement. Okay? They have the basic entitlement, which is 0 to 144. So the veterans get 36 grand. 25% of that is 144. So that's that's basic entitlement, right? Bonus entitlement is 144 up to the county max. So you divide that by 4, based on 25, get an additional 85,000, right? This is 25% of the loan amount, or MLG, whichever is less, okay? So if they don't go all the way to the county limit, but that's where entitlement lies. So, an example of this, I have a veteran, an Air Force veteran that retired. She owned a condo in North Carolina on a VA loan, okay? I think she owed about 100 grand. She wanted to buy a house up in Cache County last year and a half ago. That was 230. So that would put her at a total of 330. So, 330 is obviously quite a bit less than 484. So they're gonna guarantee all the way up to 484, even if you have 3 properties. So if they live in North Carolina and rented it out, and then they lived in Fort Collins and rented it out, and then they bought something here, as long as they don't exceed that limit, they can have 3 loans at a time, or 4. Okay, but the VA does not, they're not trying to do it as an investment product, right? So it's gotta be your primary residence. Now, you could in theory have a house on 12th Street, and all of a sudden your family got bigger and you wanted to move to 24th Street. Doesn't seem like the VA would do that because it doesn't look right. But if you can justify the need to move up, maybe you had a bunch more kids, not unlike FHA, which is hard to justify as well. Had more kids, needed more space. And every investor can look at it differently, but sometimes you can do it literally right down the street without having to sell your other house. So, because if you're cash flowing, you're good. Now, I will put the caveat in there that in order to count that income, to offset the debt, they either need to have experience being a landlord, or they need to have a property manager in place for 2 years to be able to do that. So, and we'll talk about that when it comes to multi-unit as well, because that's how they look at multi-unit.
Is there a percentage on that, like 80%?
What do you mean?
Say the rent's 1,000, they
It's
get
going to be the similar 75% normally.
75%.
Yeah, just like you would normally on a conventional loan.
Okay.
Yep. So, okay. So we talked about the basic entitlement. Any questions at the moment before we get into the nuts and bolts? No? Okay. All right. So, entitlement calculation is like a checking account. County max loan guarantee is 484,350. So the beginning balance, 121,087 minus that initial entitlement, basic entitlement, puts you at 85,087. So the only kicker with the VA is very simple, because bonus entitlement is more than basic entitlement. The new loan has to be more than 144. Okay, so that can, but if they have a funding fee, that can be included in the funding fee. If they have a house in North Carolina, want to buy a $100,000 condo out here using the VA benefit, and they're not getting rid of the other one, they're not going to let them do it. It's got to be 144. Okay, so that's the only caveat to having multiple loans.
Can you go through that again? I didn't get the numbers.
Yeah, so it's very simple. The county max loan guarantee is 484,350. So if you have a second loan with the VA,
Second loan.
yeah, second loan. So let's say you have one in North Carolina, you're coming out here.
Okay.
The second loan has to be more than $144,000.
Oh, so that's like tax roll-up?
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. It's got to be, so even if they put like the funding fee on top or whatever, it's got to equate. It's got to be more than $144,000 to be able to have multiple loans at the same time. Okay, so
So 2 has to be more than 1.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, basically, yep. Max loan amount multiplied by 4, 85,087 times 4. So if they'd already used their full basic entitlement, they would have 85,000 left over, so they'd be able to buy another $340,000 house. So initial entitlement is 144, secondary entitlement is 340. That takes you right up to the county limit of 484,350. So that leaves it now. If they only had 25,000 here, maybe 100,000 on their first house, right? Then you take that 25 out there, put you at 96. Take 96 times 4, and that's how much their eligibility is. It's like 380 something. So it doesn't limit how much they can buy on the second home. It just puts a baseline on it. So, and we're going to get into a lot more detail here, just to kind of explain it, because this is what helps you. A lot of people believe they can't have 2 loans. If you've got a borrower, like, you know, if you've got someone that's cash flowing a condo they had at, you know, Camp Lejeune or something back in the Carolinas, and they're making $400 or $500 a month on that, and they've got a property manager, why would they sell that? It's an asset. It doesn't make any fiscal sense to sell that, especially in this climate. So if you can show them a way to do it, and they can still qualify for the house they want here, then they can use their bonus entitlement to do it. Okay. So, calculation for exceeding max entitlement. So, mortgage on the previous owner occupied home, 130 times 25%, max basic entitlement. So 1/4 of this is 32.5. The basic entitlement is 36. They have $3,500 left over if they own that house, right? The bonus entitlement is 85,087. Add the 2 together, times by 4. That's what they have. right now, if they go to get to the county limit, okay? Now, if they wanna go above the county limit, say this new house they want, right, 354, is 454, so it's 100 grand more, okay? Remember, the VA guarantees 25%, so the max loan amount for zero down is this. The difference is 100 grand. Veteran only pays 25% of the difference. That's applicable to everything. So if this was 1,454,000 and there was 1.1 million left, veteran comes out of pocket 25% of 1.1 million.
So you mean mortgage insurance?
No. I mean, that's how much down payment they have to pay.
So,
There is no mortgage insurance on VA loans. VA guarantees 25% up to the county limit. You exceed the county limit, you've got to come up with 25% of everything above it.
down payment?
Yes, down payment. Yep. So let's say, like I said, if this is 500,000, so it's 854, right? 500,000 more, veteran comes out of pocket 125. Conforming loan is going to be 25% anyway for no mortgage insurance. VA loan, interest rate is going to be half a point or better, and on a high balance, probably 3/4 of a point or better than a conventional loan or a jumbo loan. So if they've got disability rating, that's the most important part, then they can waive that. Now, veteran responsibility 25,000 can be a gift on this deal. The remaining 75,000 gets rolled into that loan. So 25% over the conforming limit can be a gift, no question. Lost my train of thought. I was going to tell you something, but does that all make sense? Okay, so county limit's 484,350. They buy a house that's 584,350. They are responsible for 25% of the difference. Okay. Okay, back to what I was thinking. So the only time a conventional loan ever makes sense over a VA loan, if the borrower's got a ton of money they're putting into the property and they don't qualify for a disability rating, they're better off not paying the funding fee. However, let me give you a caveat to that. I had a guy move from Iowa, and he worked for the government back there. He's out of the military, he worked for BLM or something. Moved to Utah. The government pays relocation fees, including closing costs. So, conventional, he was like 4.5. VA was 4, but he had a funding fee. But guess what? Government was paying it for him, so it's still better off going VA. Okay? The first offer he made, they didn't want to take the offer, it was VA. And so, by the time I got done with her, you know, he wanted to go to the senator. He was mad because he believes veterans should be a protected class. I'm in agreement, but that's again my opinion. So, but that's really the only time if they have a funding fee and they're putting a ton of money down, that's where it makes sense to go non-VA. Or if you're doing a huge house and you only have 20% down instead of 25, you want to look at that. But traditionally, government rates are better than conventional rates. Like right now, I'm quoting for the same borrower 4.5 or 3.875 on VA. I mean, that's a huge amount.
Yeah.
You know, 5/8 is a lot. So it gives you an idea of the difference. Okay? All right. Lender needs 25% guarantee of the loan amount on VA loans. So max entitlement guarantee, let's talk about a big one. 121,087, which is 1/4 of the county conforming limit of 484,350. Loan amount, $1 million. The VA is going to guarantee 250 of that. Okay? 250 minus the 121, borrower funds to close is 128. Okay? Versus the 20% jumbo down payment. So, you know, it's actually quite a bit cheaper on $1 million because you're only taking 25% of the difference between the conforming limit and what they're buying, not the full loan amount, right? Borrower keeps 71 grand in his pocket, and even at that point, the funding fee makes probably sense because the funding fee might be 2%.
Yeah.
You know, it just depends on how much liquid they have, right? Loan amount 871,087. So in this instance, the VA loan still makes sense. Okay? So I don't know how many of you guys have had VA jumbo borrowers. Most of those guys are retired, you know, officers and people that, you know, spent 20 years and then got some high paying federal gig afterward, right? Okay, so you can have multiple VA loans. We talked about it, let's go through it again. Basic entitlement, the veteran gets $36,000. So who's used their VA benefits in here? Okay, so we got 4 people, right? So that's 25% of 144. I don't know
What's
where
the
the VA.
appointment to come see and use them again? No, just kidding. Which is I do, so go ahead.
Yeah. So I don't know where they came up with 144, but that's their number. Okay, so that's basic entitlement, right? Always gonna be 36 grand. Bonus entitlement is this here, 25% of the county max or loan amount, whichever is less. So 144 minus the county max. So some counties in California are even higher.
Yeah.
The biggest counties in Utah are gonna be 600, like Salt Lake County. So literally, if they want, they can buy a house with 0 down, 600K, that big old house on the hill in Draper, and be happy with that if they qualify monetarily, of course. Okay, so if the county max is 636, 150, again, you divide it by 4, put you that number there, 159, minus, obviously, their basic entitlement, put you 123, so if they already use the basic entitlement, they still have 492, 150 left to buy another house. So as long as they can offset that debt and can make enough money to pay that, they're good. Okay? So, pretty simple. You ever have a question of calculation, ask me. Okay? Or ask your VA lender. Pretty cut and dry. Just remember it's always the county limit divided by 4. Okay? Multiple loans gets a little hairy, but if people understand how it's done, it's pretty easy. So, and like I said, if you had, let's say you bought 4 houses that were 144, you can still do that in Salt Lake County. Not that you would, but I'm just saying you could. So, calculation for exceeding max entitlement. Talked about it, we'll go through it again. 130, right? We talked about the basic entitlement, had 3,500 left over. Add that in this county, which is 162, times that by 4, 650. So they've had a $130,000 house, they can still get up to 650 based on that. Now, the purchase price is 750. We back out the 650, leaves 100 grand. How much do they pay down? 25 grand. It's their veteran responsibility. So, pretty awesome. Nothing else like that, right? So, especially with nothing else like that with the idea of having essentially a government-backed loan at much better rates than conventional, typically. So, exceeding max entitlement on a refinance. This one's a little more convoluted. I'm not going to get into that because refinance doesn't really matter to you guys unless you're a veteran and we can have that conversation, right? You're not going out and selling houses to talk somebody into a refinance.
Nope.
So it doesn't work like that, you know. Unless they wanted to cash out and move the money somewhere else, and in theory you could, but that makes it a little more difficult. But if they cashed out, took money out, and put it into another house, in theory, there's some gray there. You have to get approval, but in theory they could do it. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I could probably make it work.
Yeah. so it's just a matter of aligning the stars per se. So, okay. VA funding fee. Here's the fun. Okay. So let's talk about. So you guys both have a funding fee, correct? You guys don't have a funding fee, or do you? In your loan? Does he have a service-connected disability? Okay, so no funding fee for you. But you guys have used the funding fee, correct? So, first time use, regular military, 2.15. If they put money down, which is why people will put money down on a VA loan, funding fee goes down. So my guy that did his, that moved from the Midwest to here, he was going to put 25% down. I'm like, bro, why? I was like, your money in the bank's better than in the house, right? You can buy other properties, do whatever you want with it. He ended up putting 10% down. His funding fee was, he was Reserve National Guard. So he was 1.5% of a funding fee. But again, no mortgage insurance on a VA loan. So there's never that worry. It's just a funding fee. And simple deal, if they have a 10% disability rating, no funding fee. So how about you?
10.
10? So you can avoid the distance. So I mean, it saves you on a $300,000 loan. It saves you $6 grand, over $6 grand.
But that would go into the loan anyway, right?
You can finance it the loan, just like mortgage insurance on FHA. Yep. So it goes into the loan, but if you don't have to pay the money, you don't have to pay the money. And you missed it, but I will tell you this. Go ahead.
So FHA, you can put the mortgage insurance into the loan?
The upfront mortgage insurance, yes, not the payment, not the monthly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you missed it, but I will tell you, if a veteran feels like they should have a disability rating, but they don't, as long as they apply before the loan funds, okay, they can, and then they do get approved or accepted for that disability rating, they can go back to the lender and have that removed and put back in the principal
Take out the
reduction.
loan?
Back in the loan and remove it. Yep. So, that's the VA guide. Obviously, they've got a subsequent use loan. number, so it's quite a bit higher.
What subsequent use?
If you use it a second time, they can charge more.
Okay,
Because that's how they put their guarantees in place. Excuse me. Reserves are a little higher, obviously. Cash out refinance, so they take the cash out, regular military is 2.15, and they get a subsequent use. EARLs, so if you've got a VA loan and you want to lower your rate and your term, they charge a half point if you don't have a disability rating. And funding fee, that's not horrible.
that's all owner occupied?
Yeah, so if you, so for under EARL, yeah, so if you live in the house and you want to do essentially a streamlined refinance of a VA loan, and you don't have that, you can't, but in order to refinance a house, it's VA, then you have the owner occupied house. VA only loans on primary residence. Now you can move out of that house and go somewhere else, but they're not gonna let you refinance that house.
Huh?
No, they're not gonna let you refinance the house with VA loans,
Okay.
because it's gotta be
So
primary.
what's the time frame? Like 6 months, 10 months?
What do you mean?
So you
for,
buy-
for EARL, you mean refinance?
Well,
210 days.
210 days, okay.
Yep, yeah, they used to be able to churn loans, and you missed this part, but there's a lot of lenders that send mail out, and literally you'll close a VA loan, and then you'll get a million pieces of mail. You know what I'm talking about. So the VA, as of October or November, I think it was yeah, they stopped it. They said, we're tired of this. Now it's 210 days, just like an FHA streamline. So literally it stopped the predatory lenders that send you all the, oh, I get you 3%. You know, when it's 3 points and an arm and all sorts of crap, right? So they've stopped a lot of that by making it 210 days from essentially the first payment. So they will not issue a commitment until that, literally till after that. It's not even FHA. FHA will not give you a case number until day 211. So similar with VA. Basically, it's just a protection in place for you, the veterans and spouses of veterans, to, you know, for the predatory lending that exists out there. Because the VA loans perform better than any loan on the market, they sell a ton in the secondary market and they make a bunch of money on it. That's why you continually see fines with Wells Fargo, and they don't care. They write a check for $1 billion or $100 million, they don't care, because they're making so much money, they don't care. So, you know, you gotta be wary of things like that. Okay, closing costs and guarantees. So we're gonna talk about, what's the biggest myth? Who pays for pest inspection on a VA loan? Nope, seller does not. They do not have to, okay?
Okay, so tell me.
Yeah, so the following fees are always unallowed if a 1% origination fee is charged. Okay, so if I charge 1% origination, either myself or the seller has to pay pest. If not, the veteran can pay for pest. Now, there are lenders out there that will tell you differently, but that's not the way the VA very clearly spells it out. The borrower can pay for the 50 or 60 bucks for pest. Okay, so normally it's covered in closing costs, but that is not the seller's responsibility. That is a bullshit myth that has been perpetrated by people that don't know what they're doing.
By our Utah form.
Yeah, well,
we
it
are
very well may be.
required to use.
Yeah, I know, very well may be, but it's not accurate. And so unfortunately, you're beholden to the Utah form, but the VA does not require the seller to pay for pest.
Huh.
Yeah. So you know.
Sound like it.
Now, I mean, and
How are you gonna do that?
well, here's, yeah, I mean, normally they're paying closing costs or offering some sort of concession, so that handles it. But, you know, the whole goal is to, and that's a big push with these guys, is right now they're trying to, Michigan's REPSI is ridiculous as well. And it's worse than ours. Literally, it gives vacate clauses and all sorts of stuff that really shouldn't be in there because it makes a seller not want to sell a house to a veteran, right? Same kind of thing. Now, more often than not, seller knows it's 60 bucks. If I got to pay it or the realtor's got to pay it, who cares? Let's get it done, right? But that's a myth, so you know.
Okay.
So, yeah, and you're a broker, so you know, I mean, according to the forms, it says you got to. You don't have to. But if the state's telling you have to, then you do what you got to do. But that is a myth. The VA, the state may require it, the VA does not. So we can blame it on the state now.
So
for the
now I
VA.
have to go to the state. and
Yeah.
get
What
them
about
to
federal
change that.
supremacy?
Yeah, well, exactly. Blame it on the state, not the VA.
Yeah.
Because it's not the VA's problem, it's the state's. So yeah, go ahead.
So, on a disabled veteran that doesn't pay the original origination fee, is that what you said?
No.
They still pay that, it's the other fee.
No, they don't pay a funding fee.
Funding fee. Okay.
Yeah,
They
so,
still pay the origination fee.
so you can charge 1% or you can charge the fees. So, that's why sometimes you'll see 1% and no fees charged, okay? So let's talk about lender's appraisal. Veteran can only be charged for one appraisal unless VA deems the second appraisal mandatory. So if the lender themselves wants a second appraisal,
They pay for it.
they pay for it or someone pays for it, just not the veteran, right? Lender's inspection is not required on the appraisal notice value. It cannot be charged to the veteran. Settlement fee, so these are unallowed if they charge 1%, if not, they can pay these. Settlement fee, escrow fee, closing fee, doc prep, underwriting, processing, application fee, but these can't exceed 1% either, just so you know.
Right.
So if these exceed 1%, there's tolerances in place, they've got to waive some fees. Pest inspection fee can be paid by the veteran. Now, again, do what you got to do, your broker, you know, I always say defer to your broker. Utah very clearly spelled it out, however, it is not a requirement by the VA. So, if we can ever get it changed, which I doubt, because it's, you know, it is what it is. Attorney fees and something, assignment fee, copy fee, email fee, okay? So, but anybody can technically pay that fee, okay? All right, so VA seller concession rule. A seller concession is anything of value added to the transaction by the builder or seller for which the buyer pays nothing additional, and which is not considered customary. Okay, VA seller concession rule is not the same as that directed by HUD. The maximum seller concession for VA loans is 4% of the established reasonable value. Okay?
No, you mean 4% of the value of the entire property?
If the house is $300,000, they can do $12,000 in concessions. Yep. The 4% only limits seller contribution towards the items on the following slide. Closing costs and discount points are not included in this calculation. So, here comes the fun. Veteran needs to pay off $6,000 to get qualified. If the seller wants to pay that, absolutely they can. Have at it. Pay it. Okay?
So you mean pay out $6,000 like a car or something?
Yeah, or a credit card or something. Yeah, absolutely. The seller can contribute a bunch. So, VA seller concession rule only limits payments of the following amounts to 4% of the value. Okay? Payment of the veteran's VA funding fee, if they have it, seller can pay that. Prepayment of the veteran's taxes and/or insurance. Okay? Gifts such as TVs or appliances. If they want to, they can. You know, if they want to pay for a fridge and a dishwasher, they can do it. Okay? You know how big of a pain that is with FHA. You know, multiple addendums and things outside of the contract, whatever. It's a mess, right? Payment of extra points is beyond what current market conditions dictate. This reminds me, real quick. Admin fee that brokerages charge these days, it's illegal to charge a veteran that. Cannot do it. So on the BBA that they sign, you cannot charge an admin fee. I've seen people slip it in outside of the contract. If the VA finds that out, you'll never be able to do another rent and borrow agreement. That is considered a supplement or secondary condition unless it's considered normal in the area. And based on what I see, it's not considered normal. It's about 40% do it now. So, you know, I'm not going to tell anybody how to do their business, but the VA is very clear on it. It's not in the slides, but they say you cannot charge that. So, now, if you can get more closing costs to pay it, different animal. Because that's not really being charged to the veteran. Although there's still some gray there, the VA could probably still have an issue with it. Because technically that money is the buyer's money. So, just so you know. Provision of escrow funds to provide temporary interest rate buy-downs, so they can do all this stuff, okay? Pay off credit balances or judgments on behalf of the buyer. So, obviously in the climate we're in, we're not getting 7 and 8% seller concessions, right? But, if you're somewhere more rural and someone's got a bunch of money and they want to, maybe they love veterans and want to give someone $25,000 to pay stuff off, who are we to tell them they can't do it? So, okay. In addition to the 4% seller concession, sellers lenders can assist with the following. Payment of VA allowable closing costs above 4% seller concessions. So if we don't charge 1%, we can charge lender fees, right? Appraisal, credit, recording fees, title work, origination, etc. Okay. So all that money, the seller can pay essentially 4% plus whatever that other money is. Payments of points as appropriate to the market. Do you guys see a lot of points being paid in the market right now? I see origination, but not much points. Because the rates are still so good, I don't know why you buy it now. But, okay. All right, any questions about all of that? Again, defer to your broker about the rep C, because the rep C trumps in Utah what the VA says, but it is not the seller's responsibility by VA guidelines to pay that fee. However, rep C is the rep C. And until that changes, it is what it is.
The Utah approved form for VA FHA loan.
No, I'm very well aware.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know that the myth behind that is that the seller has to pay, and also that the seller has to pay for any repairs related to that. Not accurate. However, the form is the form. And because that's a legal document once it's filled out and signed, The seller very clearly knows when you guys go to a seller with an offer that that's their responsibility, but blame it on the state, not the VA.
In a way, it protects the veteran, however, it does sometimes scare sellers.
Exactly, that's the concern, it scares the sellers. You know, and that's why people will look at the FHA, oh, I've had this or I had that, and we're gonna get to the thing that scares sellers the most here in a minute, which you guys all know what I'm gonna talk about. But that's the biggest thing. So let's talk about the types of homes a veteran can buy. So, single family residence, 1 to 4 units. A veteran can buy a fourplex if they want, up to the conforming limit, okay, with a VA loan. So let me tell you how that works though. If they qualify with their own income, they don't need to show any of the income from the other 3 units to qualify. Piece of cake, simple deal, okay? If they don't qualify with their own income and they need to use the rents, it's very clear, and I don't know how your guy into it, but the VA is very clear. They need to either have a history of property management, one, or hire a property manager, and typically they need 6 months of reserves in the bank on a multi-unit property if they don't qualify on their own, okay?
So when you say 6 months reserve, you're talking about mortgage payment?
Yep, mortgage payments, absolutely. So you guys are any different than that? Same?
It's the same.
Okay, yeah, so no overlay. So that's the way multi-unit works with VA. So if someone really someone's sharp and maybe they want to buy a duplex or a triplex in Ogden, which is the last place you can get something cheap on the Wasatch Front. If they wanted to, I actually had the guy that's under contract single family, but he was looking at that. But he had no history of property management and no reserves. And I said, well, let's just buy a house then. You know, let's figure this out or get the reserves. But if you want to buy 4 units and the payment's $2,000 a month, you need $12,000 at least, plus whatever the lender requires if they expect you to have reserves anyway. If you want to count the rents. Now the rent can offset all the rental payments, yeah.
So if he qualifies without the rents, he doesn't have to have the reserve.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
how do you prove that he has experience as a property manager?
You gotta have proof.
Heck,
You know, yeah, I mean, you can show statements from the property management company, or he can show that he has other properties elsewhere, and he can show rental agreements,
Okay.
right? That's what they're looking for, is experience. Otherwise, they make you hire a property manager. But if his payment's $2,000 and the fourplex is renting out for $4,000, even at 75% of that, he'd be able to count, what, $3,000?
Yeah.
He's cash flowing $1,000. If he can't pay, you know, $300 or $400 for a property manager to handle it for a year or two till he gets the experience, he should be looking at the property, right?
Right.
So, but that's how they can buy multi-unit and get away with it. Yeah, but they can't buy it as investment. It has, just like FHA, it has to be owner occupied. So, condo. So, condos must be VA approved. Some are, some aren't. You know, it's not that hard to get it done. It just takes some time. So, and a lot of these HOAs, if you guys may have experienced, I know you did, let their stuff lapse. Like, oh, we don't care about it. I mean, think of it, you're in South Ogden. Why would you allow your VA approval with a condo site to lapse?
They never had it. They left it.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah, FHA lapse. Well, even worse.
I know.
Come on,
She
that's
broke her hip, my
Oh,
dog.
okay. I gotcha. But that's the whole point. Condos must be approved. Obviously, if I can ever help with that, regardless if I'm the lender or not, if I can help direct you to the right place to get a condo approved, I'll help you get the forms and get you the right people. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of condo projects out there that would be great places for veterans, okay? And they're run very well, they just haven't done it yet, you know. Townhouse, of course, manufactured home. VA and FHA have very similar rules for manufactured homes. We don't have a lot of that here. In fact, I don't know, are there any actually manufactured home parks on foundations up here? I mean, everything I know of is all, you know, trailer park stuff. Not in a negative connotation, but like these older people living like in Roy by the airport and further down in like West Haven or.
There are some, but
Are there?
they generally have a lot of land with them.
Yeah, okay, makes sense, yeah.
So the manufactured home has to be attached to?
It's, yes, just like FHA. Is there any different rules?
600 minimum square feet.
Okay, yeah. But otherwise, similar rules to FHA, right?
You say square feet?
600 minimum square feet,
600
yeah.
square feet.
Yeah. So, now that, again, that's not every lender, because if it's different, there's overlays and what have you. But they can buy those type of units. Of course, they can buy a single family residence, of course. Just like anything else. Okay, primary benefits of a VA home loan. So let's see what we're at here real quick. 100% financing up to the conforming loan limit. Gift funds allowed if needed for down payment and closing costs. Lower FICO score requirements. The majority of my investors that I use go to 580, there are some that go to 500. Again, it's going to take some work to get there, but if it makes sense, the VA is going to look at it. Okay? Lower interest rates, so they are government rates, just like FHA, USDA, VA. Much better, you know, they're going to be, and because they perform so well, lenders are not afraid to give you a screaming rate. Okay? Lower fees, obviously, because there's cap on fees. It's 1% or the charges, whichever is less. Okay? Essentially. Flexible underwriting. Okay? They're going to look at all options to put a veteran into a house. Even if they're a manual underwriter, can't get an automated approval, they're going to look at disability rating. And like I've got one that I talked to somebody about, that's husband and wife. She's not going on the loan. He is. So VA looks at residual. We'll talk about real world numbers here in a minute with residual. But they look at residual. She's basically got $50,000 in income that's not going into the house. So residual is gigantic. So
What's
they make
residual
more
mean?
than enough money. They offset that. Yeah, go ahead.
What's residual mean?
Okay, so we'll do a real quick VA loan. VA looks at real world numbers. The reason why they perform better than anything else is because they look at real money. They take your gross income, they back out taxes, Social Security, okay? They back out child care. They
When
take
you say they back out, so
they take your gross income and back it all out. Back all your tax that you pay. So if you're $4,000 and you pay taxes, Social Security, and child care in $1,000, now you're at $3,000. Then they take the square footage of the house in Utah times it by 14 cents. So if the house is 300,000, that's 420. They back that out. That puts you at like 2580, right? And then that's the real number. And then they calculate how many people you have in your house, and that's what you've got to match. So like 5 or 6 people in Utah is about $1,100 or $1,200. So by the time everything's paid, other than like groceries and stuff, by the time everything's paid, you need to have at least that entitlement threshold, that residual income threshold. So that's why they perform so well, because it's real world. They figure you may have child care. They figure you have utilities. So they're hedging that into the vet to make sure that they're protected, right? Now, on a manual underwrite, if someone can't get an automated approval, they're going to want 20 to 25% of residual value more to justify doing the loan. Now, if you've got a non-occupant occupant co-borrower, so say spouse lives there and is not on the loan, you can use her money to offset residual. Even though she's not on the loan, if she can prove it, they can count it towards residual. So I'm doing a loan right now that closes next week. His wife's credit, because student loans, is shot, but she makes $30,000 a year. So guess what? That's $2,500 more a month that I can prove based on W-2s. They're married, that offsets by residual. So we have zero problem with residual, because that's what matters. So certificate of eligibility matters to get qualified for the loan. Residual is the only thing the VA looks at the end of the day, as long as everything else falls in line to qualify. If you don't meet residual, you're not getting a loan. Period. There's no way around residual. Yeah, there's ways around a lot of other crap, not residual. So that's the bottom line. So again, let's back up and I'll tell you how it works again. Gross income, taxes, Social Security, okay? They back that kind of stuff out, okay? They don't back out some of the other little, health insurance or any of that stuff. So they take that money, they back out child care if you're paying it, they take the calculation of the square footage of the house and they back that out, and that's your bottom line. Oh, sorry, hold on. And then they take all your debts off that. So, I apologize. Then they take off your $500 car payment and your $2,000